Now, let me bring in Daniel Fried, a former U.S. ambassador to Poland and a Weiser Family Distinguished Fellow at the Atlantic Council. He joins us live from Washington, D.C. Very good to have you on the program, sir. So, Ambassador, you've worked extensively in your career on U.S. foreign policy on Eastern Europe, Ukraine and Russia. What do you think about how Donald Trump is handling these negotiations to end the war?
Well, we will know how to assess President Trump's handling of the negotiations by the way the negotiations end, whether they succeed or not. And right now, that's an open question. The negotiations have made progress between Ukraine, the US, and Europe in putting together the framework of a deal, and that framework could work. But the Russians have not bought on. They are still resisting. They are demanding they're demanding essentially Ukraine's surrender. And when the talks last Sunday seemed to be making progress, the Russians came up with a not very credible story of a Ukrainian attack on one of Putin's palaces. It was a hasty charge and one for which they had no evidence. It suggests that the Russians are nervous and maybe even panicked by the thought that Trump will back a Ukrainian peace deal and that the Russians will have to negotiate seriously or face pressure. But that's all in the future. Right now, the Russians are holding firm and the war continues.
Sir, you've also been involved with the issue of NATO expansion. What's your feeling towards the fact that it looks like Russia might be getting what it wants, that Ukraine won't be allowed to become a member of NATO?
Well, what Russia wants is for Ukraine to be insecure and vulnerable to Russian pressure. Now, it is in the U.S. interest, Europe's interest, and although Turkey knows better than I, may well be in Turkey's interest for Ukraine to be secure. The best security is NATO membership. If that is out, the second best is to have security arrangements for Ukraine which involve European backup and the Americans standing behind the Europeans, and of course with the Ukrainians up front defending their own country. I have not seen the details of what's been negotiated, but by all accounts, it's a plan that could work. And that may be why Putin is so desperate to derail the negotiations.
You've also been an ambassador to Poland between the years 1997 and 2000. Polish leaders have, of course, expressed a lot of concern about Russia's invasion of Ukraine and what it might mean for Poland in the future. Do you share this concern that perhaps Poland or one of those Eastern European countries might be next?
Well, Russia is already engaging in sabotage and probing attacks against Poland, the Baltic states, Germany, and other countries. This is serious business. The head of the German intelligence service has testified to the German parliament that Russia is engaged in sabotage on German territory. So this is not just the East European or the frontline countries being concerned. Russian aggression against Europe is a reality, and it is critical that Putin not win in Ukraine. And I think the Europeans, the Poles, the Germans, the French are beginning to realize this, joined by the Baltic countries and countries like Finland and Sweden. Russia has vulnerabilities. It has not managed to conquer Ukraine. It has not managed to advance very far in 2025, and it is suffering enormous losses. The Ukrainians are also tired, but if the Americans stand up and don't let the Russians stall, there could be a pretty decent outcome coming out of all of this.
All right, Mr. Daniel Fried, a former U.S. ambassador to Poland, thank you so much for your time and for speaking to us here on TRT World.
Thanks for having me.